Tonight, you will drift into a deeper world where faith and the restless dead still walk beside us. These are Catholic ghost stories, real places, real testimonies, whispers that echo across centuries. As you rest, eyes growing heavier, listen closely, because between waking and sleep, the veil grows thin. Even the frightening can lead toward mercy. So breathe slowly, let darkness settle, and follow me. There is a quiet church on the Tiber River in Rome. Inside it is a small room. Few visitors dare to enter. The walls hold a secret. Burn marks, blackened handprints, scorch patterns shaped like human flesh. Long ago, a fire swept through a chapel. When the smoke cleared, a face appeared on the wall, burned into stone, mouth frozen open, as if still screaming. The priest believed a soul from purgatory had cried out for help. Stories spread. Pilgrims arrived with relics of terror, aprons scorched by invisible fingers, pages of prayer books clawed by burning hands, wood pressed and seared by palms hotter than any living fire. One artifact belonged to Mother Isabella. She woke to see a dead priest standing in her cell, his skin charred, his eyes begging. He reached his hand toward her desk. It smoked, it hissed, and when he vanished, a perfect black handprint still glowed in the wood. Sometimes, in that museum of the dead, visitors feel warmth against their shoulder, as if someone unseen still waits for one more prayer. Far to the south, Padre Pio prayed alone in a monastery at night. The candles were nearly gone. Wax slid like tears. A shuffle behind him. A breath, not a living friar. An old man stood there, clothes from another time, eyes filled with regret. Padre Pio whispered, "Who are you?" The man answered, "I died here, in this house. I fell asleep with a cigarette. Flames took my body. Smoke stole my breath. Now I wander, because I died without peace." He begged for a single mass, just one. Padre Pio promised. The man's form flickered like ash in wind and faded. Later, after the mass was said, the old man reappeared, this time smiling, free, gone forever. Padre Pio kept a candle burning each night. When asked why, he said, "So the souls can see their way home." Across the ocean, in Virginia's countryside, a man lay dying in the home of Adam Livingston. He begged more desperately each hour for a Catholic priest, but Livingston refused. The man died without absolution. That night, a sound began, a sound like giant scissors cutting through the dark. Clippy, clippy, clippy. And every night after, boots slashed, clothes shredded into perfect crescent moons, dishes hurled, doors rattled, shadows pacing the halls. Neighbors named the place. Wizard clip. Coins disappeared, then returned, stacked neatly by the door, as if the dead demanded payment. Fear broke Livingston's pride. A priest was called. Holy water spread. Prayers filled the night. The cutting stopped, but then a voice began to speak. Gentle, patient, not human. It woke the family to pray. It taught them the faith It asked for masses for the soul of the dying man who had been denied his final plea. The entire household converted, and their land became a sacred retreat. In England, monks once wrote what they could not preach aloud. At Byland Abbey, they recorded encounters with souls twisted by the weight of sin. One traveler was stalked by a rolling bundle of hay. It bounced along behind him with a mind of its own. He turned his cross toward it and demanded, "What do you want?" The hay twisted into a heap of limbs, a broken human form, dragging invisible chains. Its voice cracked like breaking earth. Justice, restitution, masses for my soul. A debt had been stolen, a wrong uncorrected, a life half repented. The traveler delivered the message. The debt was restored. The priests prayed, and the monster melted away like smoke, finally allowed to rise. In Krakow, an old grave once opened at a saint's command. Bishop Stanislaus was accused of theft by a furious king. Only one witness could save him, a man named Peter, dead for years. Stanislaus prayed. The ground cracked. Peter climbed forth, pale, breath cold, eyes filled with eternity. He walked, yes, walked, to the courtroom and testified the truth. The land belonged to the church. The king trembled. Then the bishop asked, "Will you stay among us? Return to life?" Peter looked as though he still felt purgatory's purifying fire. He whispered, "No, send me back, back to the flames, back to the suffering that guarantees heaven." And he returned to the place where pain becomes hope. The living fear darkness, the dead fear sin. Every haunting, every apparition, every midnight knock reminds us life is fragile, death is only the next room. So rest, let your breath fall slow, let sleep take your thoughts, let peace take your fear. If a soul calls your name in dreams tonight, do not be afraid. It may only be someone asking for a prayer. Night returns, and the world of the living grows quiet, but the dead, they are never far. Close your eyes, let the veil thin once more. We continue. In the hills of Italy, near the sea, a bell used to ring long after the church was locked. No wind, no rope pulled, no human hand, yet the bell tower echoed through the village. People stepped outside and saw no one. Priests believed a soul was crying out, not in warning, but in longing. One night, a friar stayed awake, praying in the dark. The bell tolled again, slow, heavy, grieving. The friar whispered, "Who needs our prayers?" The bell stopped, and a shadow formed beside the altar. A man in torn clothes, eyes full of sorrow. He had died without making amends for a betrayal that ruined a friend. He said purgatory was full of love, a love that burns until the soul is clean. The friar offered mass for his release. The bell never rang again. In a convent where quiet sisters lived in prayer, there was one nun named Sister Margaret. She was gentle, she was joyful. She died too young. Her sisters buried her with tears and hymns, but only nights later, the sound of footsteps returned to the chapel, soft but unmistakable. One sister gathered strength and whispered into the darkness, "Margaret, is that you?" The steps stopped, silence, breath held. Then 3 knocks on the chapel door, a signal they knew. Margaret's signal. The abbess begged heaven for a sign of peace. The next morning, they found Sister Margaret's rosary coiled around the door handle, as though she had left it on her way home, and she was never heard again. Sometimes the dead refuse to stay quiet because the living refuse to believe. A soldier returned from war to see his mother. He embraced her, spoke with her, shared bread at her table. His mother wept with joy. He wiped her tears and kissed her hands. Then he said he must go back. The next morning, a letter arrived. It said her son had died in battle days before, but on her table was the bread he broke. On her cheek was the warmth of his kiss. The villagers believed God had granted a farewell too sacred to deny. Not all ghosts come for comfort, some come for truth. A priest in Spain was roused from sleep by a pounding at the rectory door. A stranger stood outside with eyes wide from a terror still clinging to him. I saw a man, he whispered, dragging chains and dripping blood. He pointed to the river bank. The priest followed, lantern shaking. There, beneath the reeds, was a buried body, a man murdered by a thief who thought no one would ever know. But the dead demand justice, even when their tongues are silent. The killer confessed the soul was buried with honors, and the chains were never seen again. Some apparitions are gentle, some are grim, but one was both. A child once wandered too close to the edge of a harbor in Portugal. He slipped into dark water. His mother screamed. The villagers ran, but before anyone could reach him, a man in a sailor's coat appeared beside the child. He lifted him, light as a feather, and placed him back upon the pier. The boy's mother turned to thank her hero, but no one was there. She described him to the village priest. The priest walked silently to the sacristy and returned, holding an old portrait. Is this the man? The mother gasped. Yes, it was the face of a sailor, dead for 20 years. His shipwreck had taken him before he could come home. Now, at last, he had guided someone back to shore. The dead are not gone. They walk where mercy pulls them. They whisper where justice calls. They linger where love is unfinished. Let these stories quiet your heartbeat, slow your breath, soften your thoughts. The night is long, but God is longer still. On the edge of Paris, near the ancient abbey of Saint-Germain-des-Prés, there is a corridor. Few monks walk alone. The stones beneath your feet are smooth, worn by centuries of slow footsteps, of whispered prayers, of vows spoken quietly. In the dark, late at night, long after Compline, when the abbey has settled into silence, footsteps are still heard, not hurried, not loud, just slow, measured, respectful. Those who have seen the figure describe the same thing. A Benedictine monk, head bowed, hands folded into his sleeves, moving as though time has lost its hold on him. His face is never clear, only the posture, only the intention. Prayer. The abbey records speak of a brother from the 1600s who died suddenly after neglecting the night office from exhaustion. In confession, his sorrow was not for sin, but for missed prayer. Since then, the footsteps return only during the hours meant for prayer, and when Mass is offered for his soul, the corridor is silent, as if listening. Now, travel far to the south, to the warmth of Sicily, to a small village church that locks its doors at dusk, not because of danger, but because of voices. They rise softly from beneath the altar, whispers in Latin, low, fragile, pleading. When renovations were made long ago, workers uncovered a burial chamber hidden beneath the sanctuary. Inside, the remains of priests and townspeople buried quickly during a plague. No markers, no rites, no final prayers. When the bones were blessed, when incense filled the church, when a requiem mass was finally offered, the voices faded. Only once each year now, on All Souls' Day, A single whisper remains. Ora pro nobis, pray for us. And now to Ireland, to a lonely road near County Mayo. There, the ruins of a famine-era chapel stand quietly, open to the sky. The roof is gone, the altar broken. Grass grows where pews once stood, yet travelers still report seeing candlelight flickering gently inside. Late at night, there is no wind, no fire, only the glow of devotion. During the great hunger, the faithful gathered there in secret to pray, to receive the sacraments, to bury children with trembling hands. One priest remained behind long after the village emptied. He refused to leave the dead unattended. When his body was found, he was kneeling, and still, when someone pauses, crosses themselves, and prays, the candles appear. These souls do not wander in anger. They do not cry out in despair. They remain because love remains, because prayer endures, because mercy reaches beyond the grave. As sleep draws closer now, remember this: no soul is forgotten, not by God, not by heaven, not by those who still pray in the night. So rest, breathe, and let the darkness hold you gently. Say a quiet prayer, or simply rest in the peace of being remembered, and allow sleep to come slowly, softly, as the night continues. Now, the night has grown quieter, and your breathing has found its own slow rhythm. There is nothing left to anticipate, nothing left to follow closely. You may drift in and out as these stories unfold. That is how they were meant to be heard. In the hills of central Italy, there is an old Franciscan monastery hidden among olive trees, where the bells no longer ring. The stone walls remain warm even after sunset, holding the memory of sun and prayer and silence. Long ago, a young friar lived there, known for staying late in the chapel. Long after the others had gone to rest, he prayed not for himself, but for souls forgotten, unremembered, those with no one left to speak their names. When he fell ill, he asked for only one thing: that the prayers continue even after his death. He died quietly before dawn, hands folded, lips moving in prayer. Years later, brothers began noticing a single candle lit each night in the chapel. No one claimed it. No wick was burned down. The flame never flickered, even when doors were opened, when masses were offered for the forgotten dead. The candle vanished. When prayer ceased, it returned. Now, let your thoughts drift north to a small stone church along the Rhine, where the river moves slowly, as though remembering. Beneath the church floor, there is a crypt sealed for centuries. Pilgrims report a sensation there, not fear, but weight, a gentle heaviness, as if standing beside someone who wishes to speak, but cannot. Records tell of a noblewoman buried there without ceremony, after taking vows in secret against her family's will, denied a funeral mass. She was sealed away, her faith hidden even in death. Centuries later, a visiting priest felt compelled to offer mass alone in the quiet church. As the final prayers were spoken, the heaviness lifted. Those who enter now say, "The crypt feels empty, at peace." Far away, across the ocean, in the forests of New England, there is a colonial-era mission church, long abandoned, its wooden beams darkened by time. Hunters speak of hearing chanting there on winter nights. Low, slow, measured, the voices do not echo. They do not rise. They remain steady, as though time has paused. The mission once served native converts who died during harsh winters, buried without markers, but not without faith. When storms pass through, snow covers the ground evenly, except for one narrow path leading from the forest to the altar. By morning, the path is gone. These are not hauntings of unrest. They are reminders that prayer does not expire, that love does not fade, that faith does not end at the grave. As your mind grows quieter now, you may no longer remember each story clearly. That is all right. They were not meant to be held, only felt and then released. Let your breathing deepen. Let your thoughts drift away like candle smoke, rising and disappearing into the dark. You are safe. You are remembered, and you may rest. Now, there is very little left to hold on to. Your breathing has slowed. Without effort, thoughts arrive and leave again on their own. You may hear every word or only pieces. Either is perfectly fine. In the deepest hours of the night, when even memory grows quiet, there are places that do not feel haunted, but watched over, not by fear, but by prayer. Long after voices have faded, long after names are forgotten, the prayers remain. They settle into stone, into wood, into the earth itself. There is an old chapel, no longer marked on maps, where the altar stands bare. No candles burn there now, no bells ring, no doors open, and yet those who pass by slowly sometimes feel a presence, not beside them, but around them, like warmth on a cold night. It is said that Mass was once offered there every day for souls no one else remembered. When the priest died, the prayers did not stop. They simply learned to wait. Far away, beneath an ancient church floor, stones rest over those who lived quietly and died faithfully. No monuments, no inscriptions, only silence. But silence does not mean absence. It means listening. And beneath the stone, there is peace. The church has always known this truth, that death is not an ending, that the soul does not vanish, that prayer crosses every distance, even the distance between waking and sleep. Now there is nothing left to follow. No more stories, no more places, no more images. Only rest. If you wish, you may imagine a single candle burning steadily, not flickering, not fading, simply present. Its light does not push back the darkness. It rests within it, and if you choose, you may offer a prayer for the living, for the dead, or for no one in particular. Even silence can be a prayer. The night will continue without you needing to notice. Breath will rise and fall gently. Thought will soften and dissolve, and sleep will arrive when it is ready. You are safe. You are remembered, and you may rest.